Imagine all your audio entertainment available in just one place. That's what the Audible app is all about. With Audible, you can always find the best of what you love or discover something new. Audible has an incredible selection of wellness titles and originals, like The Light Podcast by Michelle Obama, Work It Out by Mel Robbins, and Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. Membership includes access to Audible originals, podcasts, and tons of audiobooks that you can download or stream as much as you want. And as an Audible member, you can choose one title per month from an ever-growing catalog of titles to keep. The Audible app makes it easy to listen anytime, anywhere, whether you're traveling, working out, doing chores, wherever your day takes you. New members can try Audible now free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/motivation or text motivation to 500-500. That's audible.com/motivation or text motivation to 500-500 to try Audible free for 30 days.
The weather is cooling down a bit. The leaves are starting to fall. Yes, it's that time of year again. Football season. And we all know the best part of any game day traditions are the ones that involve food. There's nothing like having everyone in your game day crew coming together to bring their best bites and argue over whose family makes the best chili. And while there's no need to mess with the perfection of game day classics, like a freshly grilled Oscar Mayer hot dog topped with Heinz ketchup and mustard, it's always fun to step out of your comfort zone and get creative with your recipes. Because there's nothing more fun than adding to your list of game day traditions, like making a creamy and delectable queso dip with Velveeta cheese that can be eaten with so much more than just chips. Now is the chance for people across the nation to find out whose game day eats reign supreme. It's your turn to show off your tasty game day food traditions. Go to www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to share a photo of your game day food tradition to enter to win $10,000. Once again, that's www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to enter to win $10,000.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
All right, Tom, we have a big guest today. He's a former opponent of yours.
Oh, okay.
Was involved in one of the scariest incidents in NHL history. And he's just a good dude. So today we're going to talk to Clint Malarchuk.
Ah, wow.
And one other thing is he's an actual real-life cowboy. Unlike yourself,
I'm the phony cowboy
who pretends to be one.
I'm the drugstore cowboy. Clint Malarchuk, how you doing, brother? We've never met face to face. Just I guess on the ice we would get each other. But
yeah.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of former teammates that are friends of our mutual friends for sure.
One of the all-time best is Larry Playfair.
Oh boy, great man. What a great guy! Anytime I go back to Buffalo, I make sure I track him down. You talk about hands. Oh my God.
He's such a scary dude on the ice when you play against him. Whenever you play with him, he's the sweetest guy in the world.
Yeah. And funny. Wicked sense of humor.
Yes. Good practical joker. Yeah. I remember I was going at it with John Van Boxmeer back and forth, the FU bombs out there. And Larry was standing beside him and he goes, hey, okay, Laidlaw, if you're so tough, why don't you fight Larry? No, that's okay. That's fine.
Well, I think everybody had F-bombs for Boxy.
Oh, is that right? Was he in that? Oh, I didn't know it.
Oh yeah, he was a chirper, and But was he playing then, or was he coaching?
He was playing. Yes, he was with Buffalo. He was still playing.
He wouldn't fight.
No, I didn't get the sense he wanted to fight, but he was pretty smart. He said, "Fight for it." That's it. Okay, that conversation's over with.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, definitely. Where are you from, Clint? Where's home?
I live in Reno, Tahoe. About an hour south of Reno. About 40 minutes from Lake Tahoe. I'm on the Nevada side, and I'm from Alberta. I'm from Grand Prairie, Alberta.
Oh, okay, good. So that's where you grew up, started playing hockey in Grand Prairie?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, very cool.
That was, we kind of migrated to Edmonton, and then as I got better, we go to bigger cities, so you get better. You know how that whole thing works. And then ended up in Calgary. So we worked our ways, and that was my off-season home for most of my pro career. And then when I got traded from Quebec to Washington, I got my green card, became a citizen, and, I just go back and visit family.
Very cool. Now, did you start off being a goaltender?
Well, no, I played out. And the reason was my dad was a goalie and, no mask back in the old senior leagues. And then my brother, 7 years older, was a goalie too. So I just wanted to be, of course, I want to be a goalie. Yeah. But they said, no, you got to learn to skate, be a good skater. So I played out till I was about 9. Then I got the pads.
Yeah. And dreamed of playing in the National Hockey League from the start, or were?
Oh yeah. Well, we all dream of that.
Yeah.
But I remember when my brother was playing with the Calgary Centennials in the was it the old Western Hockey League, I think it was called back then.
Yep.
And I just thought, wow, that is so cool. I looked up to them. He's 7 years older. So these guys, they had Danny Gare, Mike Rogers, and and I grew up watching the Gas-Offs and Medicine Hat and all these tough guys. And so yeah, that would dream of the NHL, yes, but ultimately when you're 10 years old, 12 years old, you just want to get to where Big Brother is.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, same here. I had that dream. I was like 6 years old and I couldn't skate hardly at all. And I wrote a letter telling as a teacher in the school that I was going to play in the National Hockey League. And my parents must have been looking at that letter like, what is this guy thinking? He can't even skate, for God's sake.
Well, yeah, and now they look back at that and they say, you still can't skate.
Very true. Very true. Oh, that is funny. All right, so you work your way up, moving from town to town, getting better and better all the time. Then what, you were drafted in the Western Hockey League draft? Is that?
No, back then they didn't have a draft. It was by area. So Portland Winterhawks used to be the Edmonton Oil Kings. So when they moved to Portland, they still held that area. And I don't know how big of an area, but each team had an area to take the kids. And then if they don't get picked up, the kids, another team can go after them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a little different back then.
That's right. Yeah. So you ended up going to Portland then.
Yep.
So did you go with like a 16-year-old, or how old were you when you started?
Oh shoot! Oh, I didn't go to Portland until I was 17.
Oh, okay.
I played in the Alberta Junior Hockey League until I was 17, 18, or whatever it was, and that was a good league back then. And I was playing every game, so I stayed. I could have gone up earlier and been a backup, but I just thought, play.
Sure. So at that point now, are you starting to think you're going to be an NHL hockey player? I know you were dreaming when you're younger, but now it's getting closer to being a reality.
Off and on, because you know how hard it is.
Yeah.
But you also don't. We're naive, and we don't know how hard it is. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
There's a luck of the draw, where you get drafted, their depth charts, and all that. And I was fortunate. I got drafted by Quebec because they had no depth in goal. They had Dan Bouchard and John Garrett, and they were both in their 30s. After that, they really didn't. And I remember my first training camp, I had a really good camp, and I thought, wow, and I got called up a couple times my first couple of years. But the game has changed, as you know. I remember walking in first training camp, and we're supposed to do some sort of fitness testing, which back then wasn't real hard.
Yeah.
And I remember this heavy set guy, but he's on a stationary bike, and he's pedaling real slow, and he's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he's speaking French, and everybody's laughing. I thought he was a trainer calibrating the bike for the testing. And I said, who is that? Well, that's Moose Dupont, our captain.
Isn't that true when you first turn pro, how bad a shape the veteran players are in training camp?
Oh my! Well, back in the day, they went to training camp to get in shape. It was 6 weeks long. Yeah, but here he was smoking a cigarette on his fitness test.
that is the NHL back then, right? Eddie Johnstone, the great Eddie Johnstone, was like that. In between periods, he'd be smoking cigarettes in the bathroom right beside the locker room and everything. Oh,
well, I remember one game. They had another in Quebec, another guy. He hardly ever played. He was Michel Place's backup that first year, or Dan Bouchard's backup. His name was Michel Place. And I remember rooming with him, and I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and I'd see this little glow. And he'd be up at 3 a.m, laying in bed, smoking a cigarette. So I'd see the cigarette glow up and down. But he got thrown into a game. And he was a smoker, obviously. And when he got thrown into the game, he always kept his cigarettes and a lighter in his, tucked in his pad, in his goalie pad, by his knee. So as soon as the period was over, he'd just walk to the locker room and wherever or smoking room area was. And so he got thrown into a game, and the whistle blows, and the linesman skates up with a pack of smokes and a lighter.
That's classic stuff. That's good. That's
excellent.
So how long did you stay? How long did you stay in Quebec?
I think I was there 6 years.
Oh, you were. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many years total did you get in your trade?
I was in the organization for 6 years, 7 years, maybe. I think it was 6. And then Dale Hunter and I got traded to Washington for first round draft pick, which ended up being Joe Sakic. So I tell everybody, I was traded for Joe Sakic. I don't. There is multiple players in the deal.
Yeah,
but I don't mention that. I was traded for Joe Sakic.
I'm the same way. Isn't it funny how that happens? Like your ego kind of kicks in at that point, and you want to be traded for a good player.
I don't know if it's ego with me. It's more of a sense of humor.
Oh, there you go. Okay, there you go. I know initially it was for me because I remember I got traded from New York to Los Angeles. It was myself and Bobby Carpenter for Marcel Dion. And I'm thinking to myself, Marcel Dion's like 60 years old now, for God's sake. He had a great career. I tease it out. That's kind of stuff. But,
yeah, he did have a good career. Great career.
So then how long were you in Washington?
I think it was 2 seasons.
Oh, okay.
I got traded the day before the deadline, trading deadline, to Buffalo, and then I played in Buffalo for a number of years.
Good. Did you like Buffalo? Like I've heard players once they play there really enjoy Buffalo.
I love Buffalo.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing: the fans are awesome. They're very, it's a sport, and you're close to the border, the Canadian border, so you get CBC Hockey Night in Canada. You're in a hockey town. Yeah, Buffalo is awesome. I can see why players stay there. You wouldn't think so with all the snow and
yeah, but it's a great place to live. Yeah,
Clint, can we go back a little bit to Quebec? We know you had the accident, and that's obviously well known. But was the worst day in your career January 5th, 1986?
January 5th.
It's the day that Tom Laidlaw scored on you.
Oh no! Come on! Oh, you looked that up. Good job.
He's got a shorty too.
Good job.
I retired right after that game.
I remember I scored on Chico Resch one time, and he was interviewed after the game, and he goes, "The worst thing about it was that guy scored on me."
Yeah.
Thanks, Chico Mesh. Yeah. So, good job, Tom. Look that up. God, can't be that hard.
There's not many.
There's only 25 goals to look up, so can't be
that one down, 24 to go.
Well, they didn't even have TVs back then.
So. No kidding. So in Washington, you go to Buffalo. And you were there how many years in Buffalo?
Parts of 4, I guess. I got traded there in 89. Yeah, but I really started to struggle with some of my mental health issues.
Did you? And when you got to Buffalo?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, let me back up. When I got to Buffalo, it was probably the best hockey I ever played. I went in there. They made the trade. I think they were losing. Why they make trades or whatever. And I came in there on fire, and I'm winning, and I'm playing probably the best I've ever played. And then I had that accident where I got the jugular vein severed in that game against St. Louis.
Yeah, wow.
That's where things went downhill.
Yeah. So. I mean, obviously, the first question I had for you, and I made sure I asked you before the show that you're okay talking about it. At the time that happens, what's going through your mind?
Death. Just, you see that much blood that quick and how far it was squirting, and you go, oh, it's a main artery and so I was preparing for death. And, I knew my mom was watching the game on a satellite.
Oh, wow.
And so everybody thinks, what a courageous guy, got up and skated off the ice. No, I got off the ice because I didn't want mom to see me die on the ice or taken in a stretcher. Wow. I also have that cowboy mentality, skate to the bench, don't lay on the ice and get the TV. And, I know a couple of players that would do that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. So a couple of doctors came out of the stands to help you, correct? Is that what happened?
Well, yeah, there was a lot of doctors at the game, and they all kind of reported down to our locker room, but it was our team doctor that, got to me right away. And Jim Pizzatelli, our medical trainer. There was a lot of things that factored into me being alive or living through that event. You remember the old Buffalo odd that the locker rooms were at that end of the ice, at one end of the ice.
Yep.
And our locker room was right there. Our medical room was right there. Our doctors sit right there. Jim Pizzatelli was a Vietnam medic.
Oh. So
you imagine trying to plug this guy up, he's bleeding all over on TV and in front of 18,000 people live.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you might lose your in a hurry. But he handled it really, really well. He saved my life, basically.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I was only in Buffalo. Probably I got traded there maybe 3 weeks.
Right.
And there was a team chaplain, and I called for him. I mean, I prepared for death. I told one trainer, call my mom, tell her I love her. I was preparing to die.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible.
Ooh,
yeah.
Man. And I recommend anybody, if you do go look it up on YouTube, it's one of those things you can't unsee, unfortunately, too, right? So be careful if you look it up, you may not want to see it. So.
Yeah, it's pretty graphic. Yeah, a lot of blood.
But amazingly, Clint, you came back pretty quickly after that, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 10, 11 days.
Did you really? Wow, I didn't know that.
Well, as soon as some of the doctors were saying, take the rest of the season off, and this was March, and I want, we were going to get in the playoffs, and some said maybe you should just think about retiring outright, and I'm like, no, I ain't doing any of that. As soon as the stitches came out, I was able to go back, and so I did, and that was, I don't know if it was smart or I really don't. But you get bucked off horse. What do? You get right back on. Yeah. Face those fears sooner rather than later. Right. And when I came back, I kind of became kind of a cult hero in Buffalo. Even to this day, there's a band in Buffalo called Malarchuk.
Oh, it's not right.
Yeah, and they're terrible. And no, they're probably good. They're just heavy metal, and that's I don't. But yeah. I kind of epitomized everything they loved in that blue collar sports town, hardworking, courageous, gritty, no talent.
You had talent. You're being humble. You had a heck of a career. So you come back quickly then, and you had a couple more years in Buffalo after the injury as well?
Yeah. But my mental health really declined then.
Right.
I did have OCD undiagnosed. As a kid, even I was in the hospital for 2 months with anxiety problems, depression, 10, 12 years old. And so, but I was able to kind of keep it all in check until that accident happened. It was the following year. I think that love and adrenaline and support in Buffalo got me through the season. It was the following season where I started to have, and I don't even think this was a set of letters back then, PTSD. I was showing panic attacks. My OCD was hard for me to leave the house. Nightmares, flashbacks of the skate coming up. And of course, I'm not telling anybody because Tommy, you know how that is. You're fighting for your job every day.
Yeah.
And as a goalie, that back then mental illness was, and it still is, we're getting better with it, but looked upon as a weakness, mental weakness.
Totally.
And it's not. Doesn't matter how tough you are.
Yeah.
Yes,
I've definitely learned that too. Like it's the same thing. If you break your leg, you put a cast on your leg and it gets fixed. The same thing if you got a mental health issue. It doesn't mean all of you is bad or hurt or whatever. Just part of you needs help. So yeah. Totally. So finally, so you don't tell anybody your whole playing career that this is going on?
Well, what happened, we had and I don't tell this story very much because I've almost died 3 times. And this was number 1, the jugular vein. Now, number 2, we had a Super Bowl party at Pat LaFontaine's house. And I'm not in a good mental way at all. I'm not sleeping, total insomnia, sleep maybe an hour or 2 tops. And I'd even sit in a chair so I could kind of sleep, but not go into a REM sleep where I'd see the flashback in a dream, in a nightmare. So I'm sleep deprived and everything. And Patty, I only stayed there about 30 minutes because I just was in a bad place. I went back to my house and I hadn't slept, like I keep saying. And I read this medication that I had. Had a broken thumb I was playing with. Do not drink with alcohol, will make you drowsy. So I took, I don't know, it wasn't like I drained the bottle or it was a suicide or anything. But I took, probably 4, 5, 6 and drained a bottle of scotch and my heart stopped. So, yeah, a lot of people don't know that story. I don't talk about that one too much.
No, are you married at the time?
No.
Okay. So you're by yourself when this happens?
No, I had a roommate then and found me laying on the floor.
Wow. Yeah. Now, the roommate doesn't know about the mental health issues at all?
No one did.
Wow. Okay. No. So talk about that for a second. I mean, you've got to carry that burden all this time, knowing that you have a mental health issue, but you can't talk to anybody about it. That had to be hard just in itself, right?
Well, yeah. And I was so confused myself. I didn't know what was going on, to tell you the truth. I know I'm not sleeping. I know I'm getting night, I know what's going on, but I don't know why. And again, being a goalie, you're supposed to be the mentally tough guy. And so I was really keeping it to myself.
Right.
And but that's when I woke up in the hospital, and there's a psychiatrist that thought maybe it might be a suicide attempt. And he started asking me all these questions. And I just told him everything. I can't sleep. I have panic attacks, my OCD, depression, all that. And so that was the first time I got diagnosed with any kind of mental illness.
Right. So that was when you got diagnosed with the PTSD?
Nope. That PTSD was never diagnosed till about 2008.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't even think, that's a kind of we say PTSD. We always think of our military guys and gals.
Yeah.
But PTSD it happens to all of us. Life is full of all sorts of traumas. Divorce is trauma. Losing a loved one's trauma. But for me, I guess almost dying 3 times. What I've learned about trauma, and I've done a lot of retreats and PTSD work. And I always thought, I was talking to a veteran friend of mine who saw, major action, gunfire, and that. And I said, how come I jump at loud noises? How come I'm on edge? And like, I would literally scream and jump if somebody comes up behind me unannounced. And he said, it doesn't matter. What he's learned is the PTSD, it affects the brain. And it doesn't discriminate how you got it. You
Right.
got it, and that's it.
Right. I saw a military, I can't remember who was, maybe it was a Navy SEAL getting interviewed, and he thought that they should drop the D, not call it a disorder. Do you agree with that? Yeah.
You know what? There's political BS all the time, and I do understand where he's going, but I did an 18-month course for PTSD, and our biggest motto was we learn to struggle well. And they also conform to what you just said, drop the D. But I mean, come on.
Yeah. Who cares?
Well, yeah, exactly. Today's world, I just I'm not the most politically correct guy in the world. And it just pisses me off when we always are, fussing with things and,
I agree. So when you retired, then it was the mental health the reason you retired, or was that just the end of your career? Your time was done.
No, when I retired, my back was bad. I needed surgery. My knees were shot. I was 35, right. And it was getting to be a real labor to get ready for practice or a game. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had this, what do they call it? It was a horse liniment, super strong, and I'd rub that on my knees, before a game or practice, and it just got too painful to keep going. And then my play is not what it would be, and I don't like sitting on the bench. Well, who does?
Yeah, totally. Especially when you've been a starting goaltender all along, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And now you're sitting on the bench watching games, and it's just not fun anymore.
Sure. So you made the decision yourself that was the end of your career.
Well, yeah, and I had a good transition. I was playing in the IHL with the Las Vegas Thunder, and they so after I got my mental health back, I was in San Diego for a year, and I get my mental health back, and I'm just loving life, thinking, wow, is this what it's like to be normal? And Boston Bruins, my play is back. I'm doing good. And Boston offered me a contract. Wow. And I told the general manager for the Las Vegas Thunder, I said, I could go to Boston. So what they did, they matched the price. And plus I put in, I got a horse. I got 2 horses and a horse for every year I'd play after that. And I remember a reporter talking to me after the game or after one of our games. He goes, that must be the first professional contract in sports with livestock involved.
Yeah, no kidding. That's funny. That's a great story. I like that. Who was the general manager there then?
Bob Strum.
It was Bob Strum? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was in the agent business, I dealt with Bob a lot. Yeah. He had, was it Brad Lauer? I think I had as a client that he wanted there. Yeah. They paid him a lot of money too. Yeah.
Yep. No, the players we had there. We had Alexi Yash, and we had Cujo. We had Ruslan Soleil. We had Radek Bonk. I mean, we had a lot of good players come through there.
Yeah, that's true. So that eventually ends though. So you play a couple more seasons in the IHL, and then you just decide to retire. Like your knees are acting up, or
well, yep. And I also had talked about getting into coaching, and so my transition was from player to assistant GM to assistant coach.
Oh, wow.
So I was pretty lucky. You know, a lot of guys, they want to coach or something, but they got to go, start real low. I was able to just kind of take the pads off, take the skates off, and put a suit on and go to work.
Very good. Hey, go back a little bit. You mentioned how you got your mental health in order. How did you do that?
Well, in Buffalo, there was about a 3-year period after the accident where I was really, really struggling with things. And then that incident happened at the Super Bowl party. And after that, I was on just seeing different doctors, specialists, different medications, and nothing was working. So my play was pretty bad. So I get sent to the minors. I was in San Diego. Lo and behold, my first game there, I let in 4 goals on 6 shots, and even for me, that's not very good. and so anyways, I go into Rick Dudley was our coach. I said, Rick, after the game, I'm a mess. I can't play. Well, Rick was under the impression I was just coming down, get my game in order and maybe go back. And so we started talking, and he said, well, here, let's get you into a doctor. I said, Rick, I've seen so many doctors. And anyways, Rick calls me in the next day, and they had me in to see this Dr. Steven Stahl in San Diego. He's a leading psychiatrist, lectures and all sorts of things, very renowned. And I went to see him, and he got within 6 weeks of medication that he put me on. I turned it right around. Like to the point where I said, is this what it feels like to be normal? Because I had no gauge of what normal was, because I'd struggled with OCD and depression and anxiety since I was a kid.
Right. Wow. So are you still on that medication now?
No, I'm on medication, but I don't know. This story gets crazier. So I'm playing. Let's see. I'm coaching with. I think it was Columbus, and it was before training camp, I believe. Anyways, my medications aren't working because, when you're in sports, you got a team doctor, right? And you got a prescription. Hey, renew it. I did that for years and years and years. So I was never checking in with my shrink or any of this stuff. So over time, my body was getting immune to the medication. It wasn't working the way it should. And of course, I was self-medicating. I was drinking, 20, I'd say 20 to 30 beers a day just to get through a day.
Wow. Jesus.
Well, that's American beer, and I'm Canadian, so
it's a discount.
It's not that. Yeah, it's not that much. But and then I'm not doing good at all. And then I was seeing another psychiatrist, and he had me amped up on so much medication and stuff to go to sleep, stuff to wake up, stuff for depression, anxiety, OCD, and so it was a little bit overkill. And one day I went behind the barn right here and shot myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
You shot yourself in the head, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And what were you thinking at that point? You thinking that was it?
You know what? I didn't even lose consciousness. I know, the thick goalie head or something. The bullet got lodged in my skull. And I just was waiting to pass out. I was waiting to die, and now I think I'm good. And I stitch horses and that cattle or whatever it might be. So I'm trying to maybe stitch I shot under my chin, so I'm trying to. And my wife and the cops come and paramedics, and they're trying to get me on this helicopter life flight, and I'm like, no, I'm fine. They go, sir.
I know it's not funny, but it is kind of funny. Like, you're a bad shot. Bottom line is, right? Like,
no kidding, right? Yeah. Yeah, real bad shot, point blank, and I couldn't even get it right. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing how our that switch will go. One minute I'm shooting myself, next minute I'm fine, and I'm saying I'm not getting in that helicopter. It might go down. You know?
Jeez.
Now I heard a story. Is it true that you tried to hide it at first, that you had shot yourself? Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know, I was a goalie coach with Columbus, and I didn't want, like, if they knew I'd suicide attempt, I'd never get another coaching job.
Sure.
So I told my wife, again, remember, I'm conscious, and I said, tell them it was an accident. Tell them I was going through a fence and the gun went off. And she did. But then the cops kind of know me in this town, and I was getting in some trouble with the law a little bit, just fighting, and that it was the PTSD all blowing up on me. And they knew I was struggling. And one of the sergeants talked to my wife and said, you know, if he gets out of the hospital, you can't do anything. You can just walk out. But if you say it's a suicide, we've got control. Doctors have control. He can't just walk out. So she changed that.
Oh, wow. How did you feel about that she changed that?
Oh boy, you know, they put me in a coma, so I can't remember. I was in a coma for 10 days or something. So I don't think I had any feelings about that. And I don't think I knew about that until well after.
Right. So you think ultimately she made the right decision though, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because knowing me, I would have left. As soon as I was physically able to leave a hospital, I would have I've been gone.
So it's a real pattern there. You joked about it at the start about having that cowboy mentality, right? We just don't quit. You just get back up all the time. So
Right.
It seems like that's a pattern in your life. With so a lot of good things come from that, but in this case, dealing with your mental health, it was kind of a
Yeah.
something that hurts
Well, you know, we're all products of our childhood.
Yeah.
And you know, especially as hockey players, Tom, what were you brought up to be? You know?
I was a farm boy. Yeah.
Yeah, tough it out, you know, push through it. It's a long ways from your heart.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
your finger.
Yeah. My father, one of his proudest moments was, I don't know what I was doing. I was playing for LA and I bought him one of those big satellite dishes. So he's watching the game. We're in Calgary. And I don't know what I was thinking. I was flying down the ice, flying for me, and flipped over the goaltender, went head first into the boards. Scotty Bowman was doing the play-by-play, or excuse me, the color commentating on TV. And the play-by-play guy goes, "Oh man, I don't know who that is, but he's not getting up from that hit." And then Scotty Bowman goes, "No, that's Laidlaw. He'll get up. He always gets up." And my father watched that, and that was the most proud moment for him. He talked about that all the time. So yeah, that mentality.
But isn't that a great compliment, really?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we could be the most talented guys, but we could be a real, you know, pick your spots, lay on the ice, all that. I'd rather be the tough guy that, you know.
Yeah.
You got
to have a head like Laidlaw too, though. That definitely comes in handy.
Well,
Have a head like yours? It's indestructible.
Well, it's that fortitude, you know, that we're brought up with, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I look back at my father and grandfather. I'm sure you do too. And I look back at them now and think they're just fantastic men. I think when I was younger, I didn't know that though, right? I didn't understand how fantastic they were. But so you ended up the suicide attempt. How long did you spend in the hospital?
For the physical healing, I was in there 2.5 weeks, I think.
Oh, okay.
And then they sent me to a treatment center for, I developed a pretty good drinking pattern, and also for my mental illness. Right. So I went to this, it's called a dual diagnosis, where they, and a lot of people, you know, a lot of people should understand that with mental illness, whatever it might be, whatever type of mental illness, there's a huge correlation between mental illness and addiction.
Right.
And I'll tell you why, at least for me. You know, if you're feeling depressed or anxious, or OCD is off the charts, or a couple beers, calm you down.
Yeah.
And, you know,
it's self-medicating, right, Clint?
Yes, absolutely. Self-medicating. But the thing was, it was like, then it was 4 beers, 8 beers, 10 beers, 12 beers to get the same, I guess, medication, self-medication into you.
Right.
That calms you down.
Sure. And we grew up in that culture where fireman and hockey player, the beer went along with it, right? That was all,
all part
of it.
Yeah. 3 things you could count on there.
Do you think I've learned recently that in a lot of cases with addiction and PTSD, it starts with some form of trauma when you're young, like up to 7 or 8 years old. Do you believe in that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the people in life that really struggle, if you go back and trust me, I've seen enough shrinks and therapists and psychologists and everything. They always go back to your childhood or your teens, where we're getting programmed for the rest of our life
Right.
at those ages. But my dad was an abusive alcoholic and I do have trauma from that. I know I do because I seen a lot of crap.
Sure.
But what threw me over the edge was the jugular vein getting cut. That trauma, preparing for death.
Yeah.
Seeing your blood just firing out of your body.
Wow, that feeling, I can't even imagine what was going through your head. About you're explaining it now, but still, it's still hard to kind of comprehend how you could go through that. So,
Well, and what I did learn about trauma is if you're predisposed, like I was, to some mental health issues, trauma will make those things explode, and that's why after that accident, I digressed like bad and fast. Yeah.
So the suicide attempt with the gun, how long ago was that then?
That was 2008, October 7th, 2008.
Wow. And then since then, you've gotten treatment and everything's fine. You're feeling 100%, or where are you at?
I still have my days. Obviously, I don't drink, but I still have to deal with the anxiety and depression. But I've got a toolkit, and I've seen you on Facebook too, and you talk about some cool stuff. But my tool, I have to take my medication. I got to see my doctor, not let it go 15 years just on the same drug. I learned to meditate, or at least be mindful, stay in the moment.
Oh, cool. Good.
Yeah. And people should understand meditation doesn't mean sitting cross-legged going, oh, there's so many different forms of meditation. Yeah. I water the grass in front of my barn in the summer. I stand there and I'm watching the water, and the dogs are playing, the chickens are running around. That's a form of meditation.
Yeah, very true. I recently had a woman on, a registered hypnotist. Very interesting stuff too. I really thought hypnotism was, they're dangling the watch in front of your face or whatever, but it's the real science about it. She really taught me about the subconscious mind and how you can get into, hypnosis, and you can really kind of change your subconscious mind, which is a big thing. So, I'm with you. I totally believe that. Every morning I go to the beach now and be in front of the water and the sun and all those things. It's just, there's so many things we can do to help ourselves mentally, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, don't get intimidated by, meditation. Like my wife, she was like, I ain't meditating. I said, you should try. Just calm your mind, whatever. Right. So I got a little emotional support dog. And in the evenings in the summer, she'd put this dog in a basket on the bike and go for a ride, put her earbuds in and go for a ride. One time I thought, I'm watering the lawn in front of the barn and doing my thing, and she shows up and I said, how is your meditation? She looked at me and she goes, what do you mean? I said, well, that's a form of meditation.
Oh, cool. Very good.
Yeah.
Isn't that true? Yeah. Like you talked about it before, like not being afraid to help yourself and fix yourself, right? There's so many things we can do for ourselves on a daily basis, whether it's foods, diet, exercise, meditating. We've got all these resources, and you think sometimes like, God, we got to use them. I've certainly learned more in the last, since I started all this True Good Life stuff. I've learned more like in the last 5 years about how I can make myself a better person.
Right. No, so we got to have a little discipline.
Yeah.
We want to replace bad habits with good habits.
Yeah.
And those bad habits are still knocking on the door. So
you
got to be disciplined and say, okay, this is going to work. I just got to be consistent.
Yeah. Because people say sometimes, well, I lose my motivation. Well, yes, you will lose your motivation, but if you don't lose your discipline, that's something you can control your discipline. So you just don't lose your discipline, then you're fine. Right. And you're going to like you said, you can have bad days sometimes too, right? You're going to make mistakes. Happens to all of us.
Yeah. And like I said, I still struggle with anxiety, and my OCD's pretty controllable. I just recognize it and go, yeah, that's just me doing my thing. My brain is going in that direction. But first thing I like to do is I get up in the morning, I do all my emails, and not that I have a ton. And I get that, and then I go out in the barn, and I got a little gym in my barn.
Oh, cool.
And once I rock out a workout, I roll pretty good after that for the rest of the day.
Isn't that true? Getting the workout done in the morning, yeah, man,
Yeah.
it feels good. Man, you've accomplished something. You've helped yourself, made yourself better. Yeah.
Well, you just get the blood moving. Even you and I aren't youngsters anymore, and our joints are probably pretty worn and broken down. But we still get out there and do something.
Yeah.
You know.
Totally, I agree 100%. Yeah, I could never use that phrase. It's pretty good for an old guy. I hate that saying. Right? We're not. Yeah, we've got some miles on the body, but we're still rolling. We're getting younger.
That's what an old guy would say.
Yeah. But,
Thanks a lot.
Looking at you, Tommy, I mean, it's a good thing this is audio.
Boom.
You know, the Rangers we go to events and they give us these cards, and on the back of the card there's a picture of me with a mullet. So you give these cards to the kids, and the kids always look at it and they look at the picture and they go to their parents all the time. They go, "That's not him. He's lying. That's not him. Yeah, he's got no hair."
Double take.
Grass does not grow on a busy street, is what we say. Okay.
Okay. All right.
You got the full head of hair going still?
I do pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, not bad. Good job.
Yeah, not bad.
It's not that great. Are you dyeing that?
No.
That's all natural.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's got gray in there, but I've been blessed that way. It's my nose that bothers me. I can turn it upside down.
Clint fought quite a bit for a goaltender.
Were you a fighter?
Yeah, I loved it.
Oh, did you? Oh.
I was on a podcast about a year ago, and this guy, he was a sports guy, and he brought up a stat. He goes, "Clint, you might be the only player that got 17 minutes, 17 penalty minutes, and you didn't play one lick of the game."
Did you have a big brawl?
Yeah, that big brawl with Quebec and Montreal.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
That's right, too. That brawl that was a good one.
Good Friday Massacre, they called it.
Yes, that's right.
Were you going with Sevigny in that one?
Yeah, and then I think it was Mario Tremblay. Well, you never know what's going to happen, and you just grab onto a different jersey. And
yeah, that's funny because we had the Ranger Islander brawls too. But I think that Montreal Quebec series, that game was worse than ones that I've seen before. That was good.
Yeah,
nice one. Good. So, any regrets about your playing career at all?
Well, I wish I was better.
So does Tom.
No, I did the best I could.
Yeah.
I never looked at myself. I was not real confident. So, but that OCD gave me that work ethic of repetition, and the obsession of being the best that you can be. And if you don't make it, you can look in the mirror and say, well, you know what? I did everything I could. You can live with that. Right. But if you took, and I know a lot of guys had super talent and junior, and you know this, Tom, that you're like, this guy's it's a no miss. This guy's going to be a bona fide NHLer. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you never surfaces.
Yeah.
And they were usually kind of lazy, complacent personalities.
Yeah. I think you're the same way. For me, looking back in my life, it's all the successes I've had or if I didn't have successes, the common denominator was that I just kept showing up all the time. If I didn't keep showing up all the time, then it wasn't going to work.
Well, we actually feared for our jobs quite a bit back then. Yeah. We didn't have these secured contracts and no trades and millions of dollars. I mean, a backup goalie now can make $1 million. I'll play 20 games for $1 million.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. It's funny how you mentioned you didn't have any confidence. Like I went through, I had a great conversation with James Patrick. It was a great teammate of mine. And he was going through the same thing too. Like I was on the All-Star ballot one year. I think it's my 5th or 6th year in the league. And I was
misprint.
It was a misprint. This is my producer right here. Yeah. His name is Tom Smith. We're really doubting whether he's really Tom Smith or not. That's his name. But it was the weirdest feeling. I was like, me on the All-Star ballot? I'm not supposed to be in the All-Star. Like probably the worst year I had in the league because I just couldn't believe that. I think it was more of a fear that I actually have to play in the All-Star game. I'm not going to go to the All-Star game with Wayne Gretzky and all these guys. So it's funny when you think about pro athletes, and you talk to a lot of guys, there's certain periods or maybe their whole career, they just don't have confidence in themselves.
Yeah. I look now and I think pro athletes are very insecure.
Yeah, totally.
Part of it's the insecurity back when we played anyways, you get sent to the minors like that. There's no big waiver wire, but I remember sitting on a plane and we had, he was a rookie, John Druce.
Yeah.
And I was playing with Washington and we're great actors, right?
Yeah.
And he looks over at me, he goes, how do you do it? And I said, do what? He goes, well, you're so confident, you're funny, and you're always upbeat. And I looked at him and went, wow, if I had a zipper on my belly here and I zipped it down, I said, you know what, son, you'd see a 3-ring circus in there. So I guess I'm doing a good job. But we do.
Yeah. We put on a good act, don't we? Yeah.
Yep.
Very true.
It's called survival, I guess.
Yeah. Because I look back now and I think I love myself way more than I ever did before. Like I look back at my playing career and I was like, I think it's probably too that all you really looked at, people only look at you as a hockey player. Like,
right.
Nobody really cares about you. And listen, it's a fantastic life. There's nothing to complain about. But you realize, I think later on in life, you kind of figured out that, man, nobody did.
Well, and we're so insecure that if somebody's really nice to us, or if you start becoming friends with somebody away from the rink, you're like, he just likes me because he wants tickets to a game, or say I'm his buddy or whatever.
Isn't it true when the game finally ends? You've been on a team all your life. The game finally ends. That's kind of a scary thought at first, right? It's like I remember walking out of the LA Forum when I was told I was done. It's like, man, what? This is weird. And I knew it was coming too.
Yeah. No, transition for athletes into the next life of working or whatever they're going to choose, running a business. It weighs on a lot of athletes, and I know a lot of people listening might go, "Wow, how many millions of dollars do you have in the bank?" Oh, well, you and I never had that problem, but now they do.
Yeah.
And they just, but I think we are searching for a purpose, and our purpose was to be a player.
Yeah.
And that's all we did since we were a kid.
Yep. Totally.
And it was our dream, and then we achieve it, and then we're living it and playing it. And when it's gone, well, where's my purpose? Where's my identity? I'll tell you how screwed up I was when I was a kid. If I had a good game, I was a good kid. If I had a bad game, I was a bad kid. Oh. And that is sick thinking.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Is that you internally, or is that put on you by parents, coaches, mentors?
I think it was me mostly. But you also feel that vibe if you had a bad game and you're driving home and your dad's, a little grumpy with you. You're going, I know I didn't play well.
Yeah, you want to please those people, right? Especially your parents.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We talked in the open how Clint's a real cowboy, Tom, and you're a pretend cowboy. But Clint actually is a rancher and is as a horse dentist, which is pretty amazing.
Oh, I didn't know that part. Oh, wow, very cool.
Yeah, please tell us about that.
Well, let's see. I was coaching. They hired a new GM, and the GM came in and said, "Hey, I might hire somebody else as a coach, but I'm not firing you. You're still the coach." And this is in the spring. I'm like, "Oh, all right." So it gets into like July, and I'm like, you know what? Coaching jobs are getting filled up. So if they fire me in July, I'm screwed. So I said, screw this. And I went to school and became a horse dentist and a horse chiropractor.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So do you have your own ranch?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's just it's not like we're running 1,000 head of cattle or anything. It's more like it's just acreage, horses, goats, dogs,
Very cool. How old are you now?
61.
Looking pretty good there, brother, for all the stuff you've been through.
For an old guy?
No, for all the stuff you've been through. You've had a full life. A lot of things have happened in that life.
Yeah.
You've written a book too, correct?
Yep.
What's the name of that book?
Well, there's 2 titles. One's called The Crazy Game. It's the same book as A Matter of Inches. And so the book was published in Canada by a Canadian publisher, Harper and Collins, and they wanted The Crazy Game. And at first I wasn't big on the title because I didn't want that stigma of crazy in there. Yeah. But they said, the editor goes, "You know how many times you said in the book that you thought you were crazy or going crazy?" I went, "Oh, okay." So then a U.S. publisher picked it up, Triumph Books, and they didn't like crazy, so they wanted to name it A Matter of Inches. And I said, "Well, that sounds like a porn."
Oh boy!
For Tom, it's just a matter of a few inches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, speak for yourself.
That's funny.
So, Clint, as a horse dentist, can you just check out Tom's teeth and tell us what you think?
Yeah, I probably pull a couple.
These are new teeth. I had to pay for these ones. Jeez.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how everybody always asks hockey players, like, are those your teeth? I said, oh, yeah, they're mine. I had to pay for them. Huh?
Yeah. No, I've missed it a couple.
Oh, yeah. Good. Well, so how you're feeling like you have your off days now, but life is good for you now?
Yeah. We have a big Christmas. My wife's a figure skating director at a rink in Reno, which is about an hour north of us.
Okay.
And every year we do a Christmas concert on ice with the kids and costumes, and I'm always Santa.
Oh, you're Santa. Very good. Good job.
Yeah. Grumpiest Santa you'll ever meet.
There you go. Well, listen, I've always followed your story. We haven't really never spoken to each other face to face. We've talked to each other on Facebook a few times, and you're actively involved in the ranch and the Mark Pavlich Foundation. I mean, too, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I'm the VP of the ranch. I don't know. Did you see Barry Beck in town?
Yes.
Months ago? He did.
Yep. He was in town. Yep. Definitely.
So Barry and Mark were pretty tight, and it was their kind of idea. And after Mark passed, we started it before Mark passed, but after he passed, our mission was to continue in his name and help athletes, help hockey players with PTSD, addiction, depression, mental, brain trauma, concussions, all that. So yeah, we're actively working on that. I think we'll be up and running by the spring.
So you'll have the ranch up and running?
Yeah.
Oh wow! I didn't know that for far along.
Well, we there's a place called the Eagles Healing Nest, and it's about 125 acres on a lake in Minnesota. It's beautiful, and I knew the gal that kind of founded that place and everything, so I called her, and I can't remember what I was after, but we started talking. And she donated a building on that property for us. So all we're doing now is renovating that building, making it livable.
Good. See, I like that better because a fantastic concept to do it. It's just that's a big undertaking to get the land, to build the ranch, and then maintain it all the time. So
that was our original thought. So we got to buy some property, or we got to buy an old ranch or an old farm, and renovate it to accommodate hockey players or veterans. And then I just kind of got hooked up with her, and we thought, well, this is the best way to go. Cheapest way to go. And if we want to expand, if we're doing, then we can put one in Arizona or, a little warmer climate.
So the idea is then if former athletes, is it anybody or just former NHL players, if they need help, can go to this ranch?
We've talked about this as a board. And we're all under the same agreement that we'll never close the door on anybody if somebody needs a bed. But our niche is hockey. Right.
That's awesome.
We've had suicides in the game, overdoses, a lot of brain trauma, things like that. So we want to have a place where a hockey player would be safe, feeling safe to go to. That he's going to be among peers rather than he can relate.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
congrats on that, Clint.
But thank you. But we agreed we'll never close the door on anybody, on any sport or veterans. Or I just sent a gal there, a former player. Now, when I say sent her there, yes, we're renovating our building, but we are still working with the Eagles Healing Nest. So it was a former player's girlfriend who was struggling with some issues.
Oh, okay.
And she went there. I think she was probably there 2 months, and she loved it. She healed. Yeah, she really did a big turnaround, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Good. Great job by you. That's fantastic. Yeah. Great memory for Mark Pavlich too. He was a great guy playing with him. He was a different guy for sure. He lived his own life and
it's funny. I never met Mark in person. I played against him, and when Barry Beck and Mark's sister called me to see if I'd be interested in being involved in this ranch. So Mark at that time was in Minnesota. He was in a lockdown facility, like a psychiatric nut house, lack of better word. Like I told you, I'm not politically correct. He was in a lockdown nut house and hated it. And I was phoning his lawyer. I was talking to the DA. to get him released to us at the Eagles Healing Nest.
Oh,
and it took some time, but it did happen. And he was very, very happy there. Although he died by suicide there, there's a lot of backstory to that. He was facing some possible prison time, and I was talking to him on the phone every week, and he was so grateful that I got him out of that nut house. And he sounded like he was doing terrific and everything, but he always told me, though, he says, I'm worried about this court thing that he was going through, and he said, I can't do jail time. So I should have seen a red flag there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's always easier looking back at it, right? I mean, you can't.
Yeah. Well, it's like my wife, before I pulled the trigger, I mean, now she has to worry, what could I have done or seen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No question. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. I was involved in that Sheldon Kennedy case with Graham James, and there's so many people after that said, "Oh God, why didn't I see the signs? Like, why didn't I know about that?"
You didn't play for James, did you?
No, Sheldon asked me to represent him about 2 weeks before he went public with the news, or went to the police about the news. So I'd represented Dallas Drake, and I was living in Detroit at the time, so I knew Sheldon a little bit, and he was, that troubled kid, getting in trouble and everything. And I've really learned a lot. You see these kids that are good kids that are getting in trouble, and you should really look for the signs to see there's a reason he's acting the way he's acting, right? And I learned so much.
Theo Fleury, same thing. I mean,
Yep.
He struggled with addiction for years. It destroyed his career at the end.
Yeah.
The amount of money he went through. I think he told me he went to rehab like 7 times or something.
Sure. Yeah.
But again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. Some things that happen to us when we're young,
totally,
come to bite us in the butt as we age.
Right. That's why it's so important too. People around, and make sure you're available to have people talk to you. I'm sure you do that all the time. I have people call me. I had a gentleman call me the other day at 4:00 in the morning, a veteran that was suicidal, and I was glad I was there for him. I really, I think he just needed somebody there for him more than anything. So.
Yeah. And, people always ask me for advice and this and that. And I say, you know what, I can't give you advice. I'm not qualified that way, but I can tell you what worked for me and what didn't work for me.
Sure.
But I bet you I spend an hour to 2 hours in the evening talking to people that are struggling.
Yeah.
And, like I said, a lot of times it's just being there, support.
Totally.
I mean,
just let them know that they're important in somebody's life, right? That's really what they need. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you've had a great life. Let me ask you a question. Do you love yourself now?
Self-love. I mean, that's a great question. And, my total response should be, of course I do.
Sure.
No, I think it's something I struggled with as a kid. I can say I work at it.
Sure.
And I don't know if I'll ever be, but I work at it. And, but do I love myself? Yeah, I do, more than I used to, put it that way. But I have to work. But I have to work at it.
Yeah, definitely.
My wife just thinks she's the greatest.
Well, she had to be to get you.
No kidding, right? But it's funny because I can't connect to that kind of thinking.
Right.
I think there's more of us that struggle,
right,
than there are of her that are total confident and
right. Does she work at her confidence? Does she work at loving herself?
Her?
Yeah.
No.
It just happens. We got to meet her. Maybe we got to show with her.
Yeah.
Well, Clint, thank you very much. It was great to finally sit face to face to talk. Your story, although a lot of bad things have happened to you, you're coming through all this now, and glad to see you're doing well. So.
Well, I appreciate it. And anytime I get a chance to talk about my life and hopefully inspire people that, hey, you know what, you can be happy, you can be healthy, you can be productive. It opens up that communication, and we got to get rid of the stigma that surrounds mental illness. Yeah.
Well, I agree with you totally. If we can ever get together, help somebody else, I'd love to do that. So great to have you on.
Next time I'm in New York, I got your coach.
Okay, good. You got it. I got a spare room even.
Well, I'll bring a bedroll.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thanks for doing this, Clint.
Take care. Thanks, Clint.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Wow, what an amazing story, an amazing life.
Yeah.
A real cowboy,
Yeah.
obviously, but geez.
Wow, I tell you, that's the first time we'd spoken. We'd touched base with each other on Facebook. We never talking to each other. And just the story, the kind of person he is now too. Like, he's got a sense of humor about things, but he's been through a lot. You know, the suicide, the attempted suicide, and the injury itself, and how much it affected him in his life. And that was. I remember watching that on TV, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
that's terrible. Yeah.
We all and the fact that he came back from it 10 days later
Yeah.
is insane. And then also that the honesty that he gave us was
Yeah.
awesome, and to be that open and sharing. But like, he came back and then he got re-triggered again when Zednik got cut.
No, that's right. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's tough. And even the part talking about his mother being at home watching the game when all that happened.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that. Yeah.
Can you? That's the thought in your head. Don't die.
Oh,
don't
God.
die so your mom can watch you. My God, like how do you bounce back from that? But what a successful story.
Yeah.
Great second chapter. He's a horse dentist.
Yeah.
And chiropractor, which is, I didn't even know that existed. You know, that's amazing.
And again, another guy out there trying to help other people. Like, learned a lot from what he went through, and other people are reaching out to him to get help. Pretty inspiring story.
You and I've talked. Obviously, you played in the NHL. I watched the NHL, but Mark Pavlich was my favorite player growing up, and he's involved with the foundation and helping people, and that's just incredible work, and it's awesome what he's doing.
Yeah, he's a good person. All right, Grasshoppers, thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time.
Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, FDA approved for over 20 years. So, talk to your specialist to see if Botox Cosmetic is right for you.
For full prescribing information, including boxed warning, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
Remember to ask for Botox Cosmetic by name. To see for yourself and learn more, visit BotoxCosmetic.com. That's BotoxCosmetic.com.